Okay, good morning to everyone and welcome to this new webinar from Geomax. I am Alberto and today we will see together the news in the XPAD service pack that we just released. So the webinar mainly we will speak about the updates in the service pack that we released for XPAD Ultimate software, but also there will be some updates that we will see at the end on XPAD Fusion and XPAD 365. So if you have any question, you can write the question directly in the chat. Also here from the panel, the webinar panel, you can also download a guide that we prepared to explain more in details what are the new functions that we have in this service pack. Just a quick introduction to explain a bit more what is the service pack and how you can assess the content of this service pack. So in XPAD Ultimate, I'm sure you already know, we have an upgrade policy that consists in two parts, what we call expert and what we call shield. So shield means that they are the bug fixing and improvement of existing function. In this case, shield is available for everyone. If you have a maintenance splice or even if you do not have a maintenance splice. So everyone can upgrade to the latest release, that is the version 4.7, and get all the improvement. Instead, most of the functions that we will see today, they are covered by the expert. So this means that if you want to use this function, you must have what we call expert. So expert is coming 1 year included in the first delivery, and then you need to have a subscription. Just quickly, how you can check if you have the possibility to get this service pack. You can check here in the license page. You see, you go here inside expert and you can see the status. So if the status is active, you have the possibility to get the updates of this service pack. Otherwise, you can, if you are interested in the new function, you can purchase the subscription and you will get these updates and all the updates included in the time until the expiration of the expert. Okay, and here is a screenshot. Okay, let's start. Since we have a lot of things to see, let's start immediately to have a look. What are the updates of this service pack? So let's start with general update. As we have seen, this update also includes several bug fixing and improvement that they are covered in the shield. So every user, even if you have the expert or not, you can access this. So if you want more information about that, you can get the update and then you can find all the update in the release notes. Okay, BEAM and MIP. So this is a very big improvement that we did with this service pack. What does it mean? It means that now if you have an expert, so if you are an expert, you have an expert subscription and you have EPS or GNSS main module, but of course you have one or the other one, you will get the BIM module. So until now, the BIM module and also the MIP module, they was optional. Now we changed it. So now the BIM module will be included by default in the TPS and GNSS main license. So if you order a new license, you will get these two modules, but if you have the expert, you update the software and you will see that you have this module. Same for MIP. I will explain you later what is MIP. This will be included in the TPS robotic. So if you have a TPS robotic license and you have a valid expert, you will get this TPS robotic, you will get this MIP license included. So this is a big improvement. At the end, you will have an additional module included in the XPAD Ultimate. Now, quickly, I want to show you what are the two modules. I will not spend so much time because, in particular, on the MIP, we will have a dedicated webinar, also live, because it's nice to see the MIP module live. So we will have a live presentation to show you the MIP module. Quickly, so what is the BIM? So the BIM is the module that allows to import the IFC file. So how we can work in XPAD, I prefer to show you directly on the tablet. So how we can work in XPAD? So first of all, as I said, we are compatible to use the IFC file. So you can select them here in external reference and select the IFC file. Here I have some example. Let me, for example, import this one. Okay, so the first things we can do is to link an IFC file inside our XPAD Ultimate project. Then, when we have loaded the IFC file, can you see now it's being loaded? I can see the file in CAD. Okay, here you see. So it's a full 3D model. This is also quite big because it's almost 50 megabytes. So you see here we have the 3D model. What we can do? We can work. So we can work with a GPS. Most probably we will work with a total station. The difference is that we will work in 3D and instead of 2D. So we can create the point on the IFC model. We can do, for example, a free station, selecting the points here, orientate our total station. And for example, I don't know, we can select a surface and stake out, as you can see. So in this case, we will not stake out a point, but we will stake out a 3D surface. Of course, we also here in the CAD menu on the left, you can open the IFC layers, and then you see you can also turn on and turn off different layers that are part of the IFC file. So this is partially how you can work with in 3D, but of course, as you can imagine, it's not easy to work in 3D. So another possibility is after you import this IFC file, here in Draw Beam Tools, we have the possibility to extract point, line, or cross-section. And then, as you can imagine, for example, if we extract a cross-section, is easier because then we can work in 2D. So let's make an example. I want to make an horizontal cross-section at an elevation of, I don't know, let's do 5 meters. Okay. And then, yeah, not the point, just add the line. And you see, this is the result. Very quick. Now, this is a cross-section that I created from the file. And then, of course, this is something that, as you can imagine, it's much more easy to stake out than using the 3D. So this is just a quick introduction on this module. As I said, we will have then in near future a dedicated webinar on that. Second module, and just to conclude, so the BIM will be included by default in all the licenses because TPS or GNSS everyone has. The second module that will be provided, in this case included with the total station robotic license, because of course you need a robotic license to use this function, is MIP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So this module you can find here. You see, it's a dedicated page, and it includes a lot of functions. Especially these functions are very useful for indoor using the robotic total station. It's a nice set of tools because increase the number of the function that is possible that we can use using a robotic total station. Not only using the robotic total station outside, but also using our robotic total station for indoor application. On this MIP, now I just will show you a quick overview of the function that we have, but then, as I said, we will have a dedicated webinar live of this application that will take all the time just to show you this application. But just quickly, what we can do with this application. So plumb point, we can use it to automatically find, starting from a measured point, the corresponding plumb point. So how it works? Easy. We measure, for example, this point here, okay? Then the total station automatically, because it's a robotic total station, rotate and show me with the red pointer, the plumb point. So very, very easy function and quick to be used. Level is that allowed to find elevation on a vertical surface. So for example, our floor is with the elevation 0. So we measure a point on a vertical surface, for example, here the wall, and the total, we enter, for example, 2.2 meters, total station automatically rotate and show us the point at elevation 2.2 meters. Parallel line is similar. So in this case, we measure a line, and then we enter the offset, for example, 50 centimeter, and the total station rotate to show us the line parallel to the original line. Distance and offset is also a very useful function. So with distance and offset, we measure a point that is our starting point, and then simply on the tablet, we select how much we want to move right or left, up or down. And for example, we want to move 1 meter on the right. So the total station exactly on the same elevation, rotate and show us the point projected on the wall of the point at 1 meter on the right. Last function that we have is the line scan. So line scan is a very interesting function that allows to make automatic cross-section, horizontal cross-section, sloped or vertical cross-section. So for example, we select a starting point here. We select the direction. So we can select, okay, move your cross-section on the right or to the left. You select the step between the point, I don't know, 5 centimeter, but the step is something that you can also change during the scan. So if you have a flat wall, maybe it's okay to take 1 point every meter. If you have small details, maybe you want to take a point every 2-3 centimeter. You press start, and then the robotic total station automatically rotate and then create the cross section. So that's a very, very interesting function. So all these functions, as I said, this is just a quick introduction to show you what we have. We will have a dedicated webinar also live for using this function, and so you will have the possibility to use this function with your robotic total station if you have the expert. So this module will be automatically included. Okay. Miscellaneous upgrade. So in this expert, we give the possibility to increase the number of the function that you can assign to the physical button of some controller. So some specific controller, they have some function button. For example, our Xenius 800, it has 2 buttons, F1, F2. And we increased the number of the function that you can assign to these function keys. In particular, you have now the possibility, so you can find here in the settings, you can open the settings, you can change the settings for the function keys, and now the new actions that we included are the measurements of the point with X tilt, measurements node, open the codes, open the table with the measurement, or open the smart drawing tools. So you can customize these 2 buttons according to what normally you use, and then just pressing F1 and F2, for example, you can add a measurements node, or you can open the drawing tools. Another improvement related to the controllers, in this case specifically related to the Allegro 3 controller. So we improved the usability of this controller. In particular, you can use the joystick here to move inside the different menu in XPad. And now we support all the function keys. So the Allegro 3 has 12 function keys. So now you can customize all of them to a function. I don't know, measure a point, open the codes, open the point list, so you can customize, and now you can use all the function keys of Allegro 3. So what are the improvements that we have related to CAD? I think it's a small improvement, but it's nice, in particular if you have a lot of points, because now XPA disable, as you can see from this is before, this is now. So now it's automatically hide some labels if they are overlapped, because you see, like in this situation at the end, there was just confusion. So if you zoom out, you see but automatically hide some of the labels. If you zoom in, of course, when the label are not overlapped, then you will see all of them. Labels also in map visualization. So this is a small change, but was not available before. Now, if you open you are working, with Google Map, for example, in the background. Now you have this button here on the right where you can hide or show the label of the point. Object report. So here I will show you live. What is object report? Object report is an interesting report that we have in the CAD, used to have a report of the measure, what you have measured in the field. So, for example, if you are using a price estimation, for example, you want to see how long is the line you measured on a particular code, how many points you measured on a particular code. So we redesigned this object report, and now it's much more powerful than before. Let me show you here an example. Here I already have a job here with, you see, some line and point that I measure. So you see I have two polyline, one with this code WL, another one with this code. Then I have some point, this MH is the manhole, LP is the lamppost. So what I want to do is to have a report with a calculation of what I have measured, how many points I measured, how long are the lines that I measured on that code. So now we have this function here in info, report, select object. So, okay, let's select everything. And then I can create the report. Let's create in PDF so I can show you the result. Directly open the report on my tablet. And as you can see here in the report, we have the object. So we have two polyline, one on this code, one on this other code. This is the 2D length and the 3D length. Okay, in case I have an area, I have also the area. And how many points I measured on this code, on the different code. So as you can see, it's a very useful function if, for example, you need a report on for price estimation, for example. Here you already have the report ready very quickly. Vertical offset. So as you know, we have an offset function in the CAD. Now the offset function can also be used not only for an horizontal offset, but also for a vertical offset. So again, let me show you here my tablet. So we can go again here in edit, offset. So this is the function we know. Let me select this line. Let's do, for example, an offset of 3 meters horizontal. And in this case, I also will have 2 meters vertical. This is new. And I selected the direction, the repetition. And as you can see, I created an offset. Let me show you. You see, that is not only horizontal, but is also vertical. Okay. So in case, for example, I need to stake out, I have a polyline and I have a side slope and I need to stake out the upper edge of the side slope, this is a function I can use. Layout with point name and survey code. This is a function that we already, you probably already know, is the layout that allows to create a new point defining the direction and the distance. Now you can also enter the point name and the code, because so it's a function that is used a lot. So we decided to make some improvement. So the function is this one, is in draw layout. You see now, for example, I just want to create a new point. Here I can define the code that I want to use. Select this one, okay. And then I can also, here I can also, you see, enter the point name. Here, as you know, we can define the azimuth or take the azimuth by point. And then here I can show, I can make the distance, the different elevation, the angle increment, you see, and then I create the point, and then I can stick out. Now you see the news is that I can define the point name and I can define the code. It's a very used function, so there was a lot of requests to improve it. Layout list with the filters. So again, here in CAD, if you open the layers, sorry, this page, now you have the possibility to filter. So, for example, I want to filter by the name point, and you see, I can filter only the layer. This, in this example, is not particularly useful, but if I import, for example, a DXF with I don't know, 100 of codes, could be useful just to filter the code instead of searching the full list. And then here I can, just clicking here, I can deselect the filter. Small update, but could be useful. GNSS. Okay, now let's see a very interesting function for the GPS. So this new function allows to define a local elevation system. What does it mean? Until now, when you was working with the vertical system, so with the elevation of the GPS, you had at the end few possibilities. So you can work with the ellipsoidic elevation, you can work with the geoid, so with the elevation over the sea level. If you have a local system, but only if you have a local system, so a site calibration, for example, you can also select a local elevation, but it will be the elevation of your local system. But there was not the possibility, for example, to work with a cartographic system or also a local site calibration, what you want, and define a different elevation. Because, for example, you are in a construction site and you need to enter your zero on a specific point. Now, before it was not possible, now it is possible. How we can do it? So, for example, we are in this project, and you see this is a project with a cartographic system, with a UTM system, okay? So if I go here in survey, this is my GPS, and you see, let's click here, my local coordinate is 73 meters, okay? But I say, okay, no, but for this project, I want to have an elevation 0, is the elevation of this point. So this is my reference elevation. And I want my elevation not to be 73 meters, but I want to be referred to this point that has an elevation of 0. How can I do it? I can open the coordinate system, GNSS localization. So I accept the localization if it is a cartographic system, a local system, what I want. And then you see I have this new option, reference elevation. So here I click on details, and now I have two possibilities. I can measure directly a point and select, okay, this point is my reference with an elevation 0, or I can take an elevation from a point. So in this case, let me take the elevation I said from the point 100, okay, the elevation 73. Okay, no, let's let's measure it, otherwise it will be the same. Let me select, okay, I want to measure a point, and this point will be my elevation 0. So I measure the point. Okay, you see my reference elevation now is 0. And now, if I go in survey, so you remember before my elevation was 73, you see now my local elevation is 0. So I changed my reference. And in this case, the reference is not a geoid, is not an ellipsoid, but is a reference point that I measured in the field. So if then something is not clear, do not hesitate to ask me. Okay, then when we will finish the webinar, I will go back and I will select it. Tilt inclination in measurements data. So this is an update that applies to Zenith 35 Pro tag, so with the inclinometer, with the tilt, or the new Zenith 60 with the IMO. So now every time you store a point with the 60 or the 35, the tilt angle, so the inclination of the pole is recorded, and you can see the value here in the quality. So you can open your measurements table, and then here you have the tilt. Okay, so before it was not visible. So now it could be very useful also for a quality check of the survey that has been done. It's not only possible to see the data here inside the measurements table, but you have also the possibility to export. So for example, if you export an ASCII with GNSS measurements, customized, here you see you have the tilt. So it's also an information that we store, but you can also export. TPS. Some updates also regarding the total station. So the first update is in regards of a particular station setup with the traverse. This change allow to make this setup using a different measurements order. Let me explain you a bit more what this function means. So we are working with a robotic total station in general, but it could also be manual total station. So here we go in station setup. Then we use this special setup, backside to non-point and traverse. So this is a special setup that is at the end is a guided way to make a traverse. So the software automatically asks you to select the backside point, the foresight traverse point, and then you continue your traverse in this way. What is the change? The change is this one, the measurements order for the backside and the foresight. So before, only this option was available. So it was asking you to measure the backside point in phase 1, foresight point in phase 1, then again foresight point in phase 2, backside point in phase 2. But this was a bit not optimized because you had to move a lot of time, especially if you are alone. So in this case, the end, maybe you do not have the tripod, but you are using the pole. Now it's more easy. So if you want, you can just measure the back side, this one, phase 2, foresight, this one, phase 2. You do not have to walk so much to complete the traverse. Another update that is not written here in the presentation is that with this method, if you do not have the backside or the foresight already in this case, in particular the backside, in the database of point, you can directly measure it as a new point during the traverse, during this procedure. Another update related again to total station is the possibility to take the atmospheric ammeters for the correction directly from the internet. That's very nice. Let me show you. So, for example, here let's just because it's quick, let's do an orientation. So here we are in the orientation page. We can click on tools and define the atmospheric coefficient. So as you know, the distance measured with a total station is influenced by the temperature, the pressure, and the humidity. And you define what is called atmospheric PM, then apply the total station measurement. The problem is that if you activate them, you need to know you are in the field. So you need to know what is the temperature, what is the pressure, and the humidity. But of course, you need to search in internet. You don't go in the side with a meteo station. What you can do with this version is that you can click on tools and load the info from the weather service. And you see, this is the temperature where I am now, 14 degrees, the pressure, the humidity, and the software automatically have the atmospheric ppm. So it's a nice feature because if you are working with atmospheric ppm, and you want to correct the distance measured with the total station by this coefficient, that's much more easy. Just with one click, you can get this information from internet, and then it's done. Your position, of course, is taken from the GPS. So you must activate the localization on your tablet. Then you know the position, you have an internet connection, XPAD connected to a weather service, and you get this information just with one click. That's a very nice function. Survey. We also have some updated related to the survey, and then also to the stakeout. Let's start with the first one. So the first one is the possibility to not to measure the height and the radius of rectangle and circle, but directly, sorry, not to measure, but input the two value. Let me show you here an example on the tablet. So now we are here in survey point. Okay, just let me measure a point just to define a local system. Okay, so the new function now allow to, for example, for the rectangle, measure the width of the rectangle, and then of course I can move and measure the height, or I can input the value. And then you see here we have the result. So we have this result for the rectangle and then also the circle. With the circle, we have the possibility to type in the radius. Survey code and master point. So master point is a very useful function that a lot of surveyor they use. You can just to remember what is the master point. The master point, you see, you can select it from the drawing point, and then when you measure a point as a master point, you have the possibility to define different occupation time. So, for example, you can use it if you need a point with a better accuracy. Maybe it is a control point, so you don't want to stay just 3 seconds on the point, but maybe you want to stay, I don't know, like 30 seconds, 1 minute on the point. Now you have the possibility here in the codes to, here I already did it, but let me show you. For example, for this code that I call it vert, that is, for example, my vertex, my control point, I can define, okay, this code vert is a master point. Okay, what does it mean? It means that if now I select this code, automatically it will be a master point. Okay, so this could be useful to define for your control point. Some improvement also on the line work. So for who of you who are using the line work, so the possibility to define a different line, active line in the drawing tools, now there is also the possibility to move up or down the point here in the list. So every line you create has a specific ID. In this new version, you have the possibility selecting the line to move up or down, so to change the order of the lines. This is very useful then if you use the zigzag or the same direction function, because you can change the order of these lines. Distance from last point is also a very useful function. We think in particular in the construction site, because what does it mean, this function? So normally here in the top bar, you can see the latitude, in this case with a GPS, you can see the latitude and the longitude. If you click on it, you can see the east and north. But now you can also see distance and the slope from the last measured point. Let's do an example. So I measured new point. Okay, let me do a master point. Let's do a normal point. So I measure this point. Now let's go here. Okay, I measure this point. Now I move even without measuring the other point, and you see I can see live, see the 2D distance, the 3D distance, and the slope this point. So let me just change because I'm using the simulator. So as you can see, for example, if I increase my GPS height of 50 centimeters, also here you can see a different slope. So what does it, this is very useful. Imagine that you are doing the survey of a pipe. So you can do two operations together. So you can measure the pipe, but in real time you can also see that the slope is correct. So that's a very nice small function, but for some application, and one that I'm thinking is, for example, you are making the survey of a pipe, but all the times that you are doing a survey, but at the same time, you can also check that the slope is correct. So that's, you just click here and you see you can change between latitude and longitude, east and north, and the distance and distance to the distance and slope to the last measured point. Of course, this is available for the GPS, but is also available for the ground station. Another useful function that we have is the possibility to enter together the code and the description. So as you know, when you measure a point, you have two fields that you can enter, that they are the code and the description. So before was necessary to enter them in this way. So you measure a point, and then here you select the code, and here you enter the description. Now you can directly do it from here in this way. So you enter the code, question mark, the description, don't know, offset 0.20 centimeter. Okay, so FC is the code. After the question mark is the description. Measure and store. Let's go to see the point. You see, code, the description. So that's very, very nice, because I don't know, like in this example here, I have to define the description. So I can just go here, change it, I don't know, to 30. And then you see, here I have the code, and here I have the description. So small update, but if you enter normally a description, it will save a lot of time. Stakeout, also some updates on related to the stakeout. In particular, there is a new stakeout mode that is reference is your latest measured point. Let me show you what does it means. Let me again take here the controller. So now we are talking about the stakeout. So imagine that I need to stake out, you know, the point. Okay, so here let's move the simulator. Okay, now of course I will not be very accurate. Okay, perfect. Okay, let me select again 0, the elevation. Okay, so here we are staking out this point. Now here we have the possibility, clicking here, you see here, change to previous. So of course we need to measure the first point. So now I measure at the point, I stake it out, sorry, the point 128, and I save it. Now we are staking out the point 1 to 9, and we select as a reference for the stakeout the previous point. So this means that the direction, this one, 3.64 on my back, going backside, and 17 centimeter on my left, they are referred. Oh, this is my position, looking at this point, the previous point. So in some way, in some cases, is much more easy to stake out a point looking at the latest one that I staked out. So in this case, my direction to stake out this point are not referred to the north, to the sun, or to another reference point, but they are referred specifically to the latest staked out point. So you see now, for example, I stake out the point 129. Okay. Now the software automatically proposed me to stake out the 130, and again, my reference now is the previous point 129, and so on. Okay. So it could be very, very useful to speed up the stakeout procedure. Small update, this is probably useful more for like if you need to post-process the data, or maybe you are exporting the data for cadastral. So the covariance factor for GNSS measurements are also for the staked out point. Before was only in the measured point. Surfaces. So there are also 3-4 updates also for the surface and the volume module. So the first one is related to a specific function. This function is in the build module. So is the size slope automatic. So what is this function? So in the size slope automatic, I will show you also a live example. Normally you import in the project the bottom of the excavation. So imagine that you are in a construction site and you import inside your project the bottom of the excavation. Then with the function size slope automatic, you enter the value of your size slope, because you have the bottom of the excavation. You enter your size slope to the ground, and you stake out what is called the catch point. So the point that is the connection between the design slope and your real ground. You stake out all these points, and then with this new application, you have the possibility to create a surface that then, in general, the goal is to move this surface to a machine control to make the excavation. Let me show you a live example. So let me here, of course, with the simulator will not be very easy, but here I created a very simple example. So this is bottom of my excavation, a simple rectangle, okay, because otherwise it will take too much time with the simulator. So this is, you see, this is my ground is higher, is here, my real terrain, and this is the bottom of my excavation. So we can go here in stakeout, size slope automatic, and here we define, okay, of course we select the polyline that represent the bottom of my excavation, and then we define the size slope. So for example, we move 1 meter, so we have the bottom of excavation. We don't, if we want, we can enter an offset, in this case 1 meter, and 30% is the size slope. Okay, and then what normally I do, you see this is the bottom. Let me also show you in 3D. Okay, not easy. You see, probably. Let me. Okay, by hand. Okay, so just to give you an idea. So you see, this is the bottom of the excavation, this one, and this is the size slope. Okay. Now I will do in 2D that it will be more easy with the simulator. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I stake out. You see here, I see the different elevation. This means that here, more or less, this will be when the elevation will be 0. Okay, no, a bit more here. So when the, okay, I will not have to be very accurate because I just want to show you here an example. Yeah, 5 centimeters is okay. This is the point where my design size slope meet my real terrain. So I will, normally this is what, when I use in this application, this is what I'm going to measure. Okay, so I will take, sorry, I will take here some, okay, I will not be with a millimeter accuracy. It's with the simulator, it's not easy. So let me take here some point. Oh, sorry. So you see, normally this is what I'm doing in the field. So here, let's go a bit, okay, a bit more. Okay, 6 centimeters is okay. And then you see what I'm doing. I'm walking around the excavation and taking all the points. You see here the elevation is 0. Okay, not 0 because with the simulator don't make sense to be very accurate. So you see, normally this is what I do. I walk here and I take all the point. Yeah, no, more or less, no problem. Okay, now let me do it a bit faster. Okay, just let's take a point here is okay. Of course, more points I take, more I will be accurate. Okay, let me take just another one here. Even if I have this 10 centimeter difference on the elevation, is not a big problem. Okay, so here let's take just other 2 points, so one here. So just again, so what I have here in green is the bottom of the excavation, the other one are the side slope that I defined, and now I am measuring the sides, so the point where my design side slope touch the real terrain. Okay, so imagine that these green points are the points they take it out. Now I have the possibility in tools to create a surface. Okay, and this is, you see, this is the surface that, for example, let me see if I can show you here. Okay, you see, this is the surface that the excavator, for example, need. So here I have the real surface. So this is the bottom of my excavation, and these are the side slope. These are the points where the side slope, the design side slope, meet the terrain. Now I can export this data for the machine control, and then on the excavator I have the design. Okay. Oh, I hope that I explained. So with the simulator is not easy, but I hope that I explained correctly what is the procedure. So the goal is to create this surface to be uploaded on an excavator, on a machine control. Okay, so yeah, you can see also an example. Okay, another function that also we created in the surface and the module application is the possibility to duplicate and apply a vertical offset to an existing surface. So for example, we have this, now we can use this surface that we created. So this is the surface we just created in the example before. What we can do, we have the possibility to create a copy of the surface, and then we can change the elevation. We can say here, you see, we have this new function, move up or down, and we say, okay, this function, I want it to be, I don't know, 50 centimeters higher. Okay, so you see here the elevation has changed. So what we created, let me see if I can show you here in the CAD. Okay, it's very, okay, probably it was better to create another one, but probably here you can see, so I just enter 50. So you see here I have two surfaces. So one, the original one, and one that is 50 centimeters higher. So this could be useful, for example, you are staking out a surface, but maybe you need to stake out a different layer. You can just make a copy of the surface and move up or down, and then you can stake out. Last update that we did for the surface is the possibility to create surfaces starting from just from lines. So in the previous version was only possible to create surface if you have a topographic point. So you could use a topographic point plus break line or boundary. Now you can do it just with lines, break line and boundary. So for example, I have this surface, so very simple, just a small example. So you see, I have this surface, and I want to create, okay, here I have already one, let's call S2 by terrain, the color. So in the previous version was necessary to select the points also in the backline. Now we can just select the backline. So, I don't know, let's select everything. Okay, I select the 3 backline and I have the surface. You see, so is an improvement. So this is an improvement on creating the surfaces just with a polyline. Another improvement of the surface and volume module is also that now has been so the calculation of the triangles has been is much more powerful. So in the previous version, sometimes there was some problems with some surfaces. Now it's much more powerful in this new version. Okay, we are close to the end of the news and also close to the time we planned to dedicate to this webinar. Just quickly, import point from ASCII. No, sorry, this required GIS module is wrong. So what does it mean? It means that now when you import a list of points and the point there is already in the database a point with the same name, now you have this option. So before the point was automatically renamed. So if you had a point 100 and you import a point called 100, the point was called 100_2. Now the point you can choose. If you have this situation, you can choose to just select, change the name, rename it, overwrite, or skip the point. So much more powerful manage when you import the data. An update related to the XPath 365. So if you are working with the XPath 365 with coworkers, now you have the possibility to share also code list, topographic point, and reference point directly in the XPath 365. Just let me show quickly an example. So I want to show the code list. I can go here in codes. Yeah, maybe let's load a library, just no problem, just a library. So now we can go in tools, share to XPath 365, and we can share the code list in the chat. Here I can select the user and I can share the code list directly in the chat. So not only the code list, was already possible to share a cartographic system, a coordinate system, reference point, and so on. Last update regarding XPath Ultimate is on GIS. So there is a new function when you export the DXF that you see here is the GIS export. So if you are using the GIS attributes in your project, now you have the possibility when you export the DXF also to export the attributes that you measured in the field as labels. So let me show you quickly an example what will be the result. Let me open the file that I have exported. So you, in this case, for example, you see I selected this. So this was a tree probably because here I have some attribute, the date, the type, the height. Here I had the number of the manhole, so and other information. And here let me show you. So you see this is a normal topographic point. Is a GIS point, and here I have several different. You see here. This data is exported on a specific layer called point GIS data. Okay, so this could be useful if you are working with GIS attributes. Fusion. So also for Fusion, we have some upgrade. As you know, for Fusion, there is no expert, there is no maintenance. So if you are using Fusion, you will get these updates in any case. So for Fusion, we included the possibility to import the scans made with the Leica RTC 360 laser scanner. So you can directly, there is a direct connection between the Fusion software and this laser scanner. So no need to convert the data, you can directly import the data in Fusion with the scans taken from the Leica laser scanner. Same also for the Leica BLK2Go. So also for the BLK2Go, that is the handheld imaging scanner, it is possible to work with Fusion, directly importing the data from the file that are generated from the scanner, or with a connection. The last update, but it's quite important because we have a lot of users working with the Xphoto module. So the Xphoto module is the module that allows taking the picture from aerial photogrammetry from the drone or terrestrial photogrammetry to create point cloud. So we changed the engine. So it was already quite good, honestly, but now we are using a new calculation engine that we tested and will provide much better result, in particular if you are working in difficult condition where there is so the quality of the image is not good, the overlapping on the image is not good. We have seen that now the process is much more faster and much more accurate. So sorry, here the title is wrong, it's not like a BLK2Go. So, but is related to the Xphoto module, so to the aerial photogrammetry and to the terrestrial photogrammetry. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I see already a question here in the chat. Of course, if you have other questions, just write them here. In the meantime, I also want to remember you that the webinar will be loaded here in the XPA 365. I think almost all of you now we have an XPA 365 account, at least the free account. So what you can do is that you can log in your XPA 365 account, then you can open the Virtual Training Academy, and here you will have the possibility to see again this webinar and also to see the presentation, of course, and also download the old webinar. So you can go here in Virtual Training Academy. As I hope you already know, here there are a lot of user guides on Ultimate, on Fusion, on everything. So for example, you can check webinar, and here you will see all the recent webinar that we did, and also this webinar will be loaded here in XPA 365. Okay, let me reply to the question that arrived here during the webinar. So the question is was related to the Allegro 3. Yes, so the question is, in which menu can I customize the function? Let me quickly go back. Okay, so it's exactly the same as here, the function key settings. So you open the settings in XPAD. In the general settings, there will be this function key settings. You can open that, and also for the Allegro 3, you have the possibility to customize the function keys. Okay, here I see a new question. Yes, this is a function that we introduced. It was in the release note, but was not part of this presentation. And the question is about the viewer and AnyDesk. So now in this new update, if you click here and you open the support page, now you see there are two different remote support possibilities. So before it was only possible to connect using TeamViewer. Now there is also AnyDesk, because it's also quite popular remote desktop connection. So if you want to start TeamViewer, you click on TeamViewer and is automatically open TeamViewer. If you want AnyDesk, it's the same. You click AnyDesk and then you see AnyDesk is automatically started. Okay, so these are the two options that we have now. So before only TeamViewer, now you have also the possibility to start a remote support using AnyDesk. Okay, so in any case, so when you here you can check the release notes of the version 4.7. So if you want to see all the updates, also much more that I presented the main function, but there is much more in this service pack. You can get here the tile list, or also we also included a how to use guide for this service pack. So this will be a list and the presentation of all the updates that we have, but also there will be a how to use guide, so small guide, a very quick step how to use the function that we have seen today. You can already download this guide how to use here from the GoToWebinar panel. Okay, I don't see any other question. So I would like to thank you for the participation. And as I said, in a couple of days, this webinar also will be available on the XPath 365. If you have any other question, you can always contact us on the support at geomax-positioning.com email. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Bye.